Today we have two new faces in the Supertest. Or rather, one new face and one old one, which is basically in development hell. One being the Crusher and the other one being the ST-62. And why do I have the Charlemagne here? Well, because the Crusher is another British heavy tank concept from very odd times. Also, just so you know, the ST-62, it's this one. You know it. You should know it. You've already seen it quite some time. I already spoiled a little bit what is the Crusher about. So from the briefings I read on Reddit, this thing was supposed to have a 180mm gun. Or rather the 183mm gun of the FV. And it was only in a mock-up stage, and you can see it was made by wood. And now it is in World of Tanks, and my god, it is fugly. Like, honestly, dear British viewers, please explain to me what exactly this thing is. What is it? Why is it? Why does it look like that? What is this tank design? Did you try to overcompensate for back in the days to just only do angular stuff? To now do rounded things? Like, this tank looks a little bit like a person with ADHD which found out a new word. And then they overuse it for the next 2 to 3 days. And this looks like the engineers of this tank, or the designer of this tank, found out, oh my god, we can do stuff rounded in the British Army. Proceeds to round up everything. Except for the tracks, because they stole them from the Black Prince. At least this is how it looks like, and this would also explain the horrendous mobility. But we get to that after this tangent. Because now, gun. It is a 108mm gun. And it is pretty chunky. It is the one of the Turtle, apparently. It has 330 alpha, 230 pen on AP, 260 pen on APCR, 7.8 second reload, giving it a DPM of 2540. And now you might be thinking, wait a second. Exactly. It is 50 DPM less than the Carnarvon. And let's be honest, the Carnarvon currently in the tier 8 meta is one of the best heavy tanks in the game. It has decent hull armor, it has amazing turret armor for tier 8, it has an amazing gun, it has amazing gun handling, it has convenient mobility. So yeah, that is a stout DPM in my opinion. And fun fact, it has more DPM than the ST-62 as a tier 10 medium tank. Also, the aim time looks pretty decent with 2.2 seconds. Accuracy 0.37 is a bit lacking. Obviously, we do not know yet if this tank is going to have good or bad, what's it called? Good or bad gun handling stats, because they're not out yet. Thanks, Wargaming. 10 degrees of gun depression, we can work with that, and 20 degrees of gun elevation, which is more or less standard. Yes, the Carnarvon is a little bit worse. The main issue is the Crusher is the third slowest heavy tank in the game, with only 24 kph in top speed and 12 kph in reverse. It is good that it has the 12 kph in reverse, so it is comparable to the Carnarvon, but the 11 horsepower per ton, as well as the 10 kph difference in top speed, that is hurting. Because, again, a Carnarvon, you can put in a turbo and do it just really quickly here and boost it that way. And you can see we can almost go at 40 kph. Actually, is this even boosted now? Should be more, I think, when it's boosted. Forget it. 40 kph. This thing will go maximum of 30. That is a massive difference. So, not sure how well the Crusher will behave in the current meta, and the current meta is fast tanks getting into good positions. And that's why the Crusher will most likely be one of those tanks that is just driving behind your team until you're in a hold down position. You're like, yippee, you might do like 2 or 3 shots, and then you're like, well darn, now the enemy team is already dead, or I'm already dead because I can't get away. So that is a little bit annoying and will probably be the balancing factor for the Crusher. It has 1500 hit points, which is fairly good in my opinion. I'm not sure, but yes, it has less than the Carnarvon, which is odd. And now the armor. 230 on the front, 100 on the side of the turret, and 80 on the side of the hull, and 80 in the rear. Now's the question. How thick is the armor in general? Is it losing thickness over around the say, the curvature? Or is it always 180? Is the lower plate 180? Oh, excuse me, 230? There we go, the 180. And so on and so forth. So this will make or break the tank. Where's the weak spot on a turret? Is the weak spot down here? Is the weak spot this? Is this just an optic? Is the weak spot of the lower plate actually a weak spot? How good is the side armor? Can it side scrape, etc.? This will make or break this tank, but currently, if you can look past the mobility, this tank might be a British VK101P, but better because it's faster, can go hull down, and probably has no weak spots at the turret. And it has much better DPM. So I'm fairly scared. However, I'm also kind of interested in why exactly they did this tank and why they used the Black Prince drivetrain, because that thing was garbage. Now to the ST-62 version 2. This thing, auto reloader, 100mm gun, 320 alpha. The auto reloader is in reverse, meaning that the last shot in the auto loader, when you have it fully loaded, takes 14 seconds to reload, and when you only have one gun or one round loaded, it has an 8-second reload, giving you a DPM from the worst case of 1370 to the best case of 2400. And yes, 2400 is fairly little if you ask me. 2 seconds interclip though is very good. It gives it a burst of 960 damage in just 4 seconds. And again, please don't forget, if you do that, you then have the best available DPM on your tank. And the aim time of 2 seconds looks pretty decent, and the accuracy, it is what it is. It has APCR's standard rounds, which is good. However, AP as premium rounds. It has amazing pen for AP, 330, but it's still odd. Mobility-wise, it's not that fast. 50 kph top, 20 in reverse, 20 HP per ton ratio, and it has pretty good whole traverse speeds. The survivability here, we can do a little bit of assumptions. Now, if we look at this tank, let me quickly just take a normal tank, or let's go here. There were some changes from the tier 8s, obviously. It doesn't have the 290 turret armor, which it has on the tier 10 version, and it doesn't have the 150mm side armor on the turret, and it doesn't have the 50mm of the whole side. So the whole sides will definitely be better, and obviously the turret. However, we are able to compare the tank to some tier 10 vehicles, I would say. And let's take the Centurion. Centurion is currently very common, it's a very good tank, and you can see that. Again, ignore the turret, otherwise it doesn't work, this experiment. But the hull, you can see, it's auto pen. If you start using those 6 degrees of gun depression, now we start talking. It can actually bounce some stuff. Yes, it is still very easy to pen, but it's still not that good. And if you use heat, the hull becomes super easy to pen. At least when you start to wiggle, majiggle your hull, you might be able to troll some people. But then again, it's basically you always just have to aim at where his gun is aiming. That's not really. No, okay. You basically always have to aim for this quadrant up here, and it is super easy to pen. But as soon as it is hull down, it might become a little bit harder, and it makes it a little bit harder for you to hit and kill this thing. Again, the side armor will be bumped up from those 50 to 70mm, so it might actually be able to... I guess it can bait some people because this will be also 70, so that might be good. But it's hard to tell. Like, I don't know what Wargaming is planning to do with this tank. It is interesting that it now has this reverse auto reloader with those 2-second interclip, but 2400 DPM is not good. You can see, like, Centurion Action X has almost 500 DPM more. The Progetto, okay, Progetto got nerfed quite a bit, and it has more clip potential. So the Progetto, but also the Progetto got nerfed quite a lot, let's be honest here. When we now look at something which is also Russian, like, for example, the 140, 500 DPM difference. When we look at the T-22 medium, yeah, okay, the T-22 medium is on par. It has 160 DPM more, but to be fair, okay, if you take the T-22 medium against ST-62, probably the ST-62 is more versatile. But I don't know, it's hard to tell yet, and it's kind of odd that Wargaming once again changed this tank around. In any case, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section Let me in the comment section below know what you think about the tanks, and I see you around.